You can make sure Monroe counts by participating in the 2020 census. An accurate count of our city's population will help Monroe get its fair share of federal funding to support schools, fire and police, senior citizens, veterans, healthcare, road and drainage improvements, and much more. The census only occurs once every 10 years, so please participate and help Monroe get the count right. Tell the robbers a place party, tell the robbers a place party, get the count, get the count, get the count. Tell the north side posse, tell the north side posse, get the count, get the count, get the count. Tell the west side posse, tell the west side posse, get the count, get the count, get the count. Tell the south side posse, tell the south side posse, get the count, get the count, get the count. Tell the east side posse, tell the east side posse, get the count, y'all, get the count. Count it up, y'all, count it up. Come on.
All right. Hey, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Hey, I'm Brother Brian here, the community ambassador representing the community roundtable here on KIEZ 106.7 FM. And this is not a rerun. Hey, we're back at the city of Monroe, and we have Mrs. Ellen Hill and the famous Michaela Morrison. How you two young ladies doing today?
Famous? Wow, that was a wonderful introduction. I didn't know I was famous, but I'm good. I'm good. You're doing all right?
I am doing great. I am doing great. What about you, Mrs. Hill?
I'm doing great. It's a great day in Monroe.
It is. It is. And
especially if you did your census. So, Mr. Johnson, did you do your census?
I haven't did my census. Check this out, Michaela. I got everything right here.
Okay.
But the great thing about me sitting down at the round table discussing what the census is today, it really opened up the awareness of how important it is. So instead of coming from me, I want to ask the two of you, what is this thing that we're hearing about called the census? Because some people are hesitant because they may think that it's release of so much abundance of information or it's a test and they don't want Big Brother all in their business. So tell us, what is the census and what is the impact of actually participating in the census?
Well, I'll start off and then hand it off to my trusted census assistant, Michaela. But the census is done only once every 10 years. And all it is truly is a way of counting who all is here in the country. It's just the basic information about who is living in at the particular house at a particular time. Because from the time the country started, we collect information to figure out how then our funds need to be dispersed. But also the census is used to decide on representation. So, 10 years ago, for example, our state lost a congressional seat, and that was based on the census. If everybody remember, Representative Cleo Fields lost his seat in Congress, and that was truly based on our census numbers. And so the lines got redrawn, and we had one less congressman. So if we consider that, that's one less voice in Congress for our state. But if we want to bring it down to local, we get federal funds, a variety of federal funds that's decided based on our population. So for example, we are going through a pandemic and the federal government is deciding who gets funds. Well, guess what? Because we are a city of 50,000, we get in a different pot and we automatically get certain funds. Cities that are a little smaller have to compete for those funds. So it's important that every 10 years, we all stand up and be counted. And it's whether you are a month old, a day old, or 99, we're all important and we all have to get counted in the census. So, Michaela and I have spent the last few months together doing a variety of things to make everyone aware of how important it is that we participate in the census, because that's how we get to benefit from federal funds, but also private funds. Truly people look out on population and decide what to do. You also use population number for economic development. Believe it or not, when a business is going to come to town, that's where they start. They start with census information to figure out how many people are there, what's the buying power. So when we want to look out and say, wow, why don't we have this in our community? Why don't we have that? Did you participate in your census? Did you complete the census? And it's very simple, 10 minutes. Everybody by now should have gotten their census envelope. You can see I've kept mine. And 10 minutes on the phone, and you get to, you know, participate by simply telling people who's in your household. And if you do that, nobody will come knocking on your door from the Census Bureau, because it's that simple, just trying to count everyone that's in our community. Michaela?
And like Michaela said, just 10 minutes is all that it takes to use your voice or use your phone or use your pen to decide where $675 billion are allocated in. Just to speak to what she said about, this pandemic, for example, just to bring it to a local level, Oscar, the hospital right down the road, receives federal dollars for our citizens who may not have insurance, who may have Medicare, and it's important that, again, we use our voice to make sure that we get those federal dollars. COVID hit, and our community was adversely impacted. There's a great health disparity in medicine amongst African Americans and our white counterparts. And it's important that, again, we use our voice to make sure that if another pandemic hits or any type of public health crisis hits, that we have the funds that we need to sustain.
Wow. Mrs. Hill, you definitely know how to pick the stars, the up and coming stars, don't you? Now, that's what leadership is. So, Michaela, thank you for that. Now, you all are talking about money. We're talking about redistricting, political aspect. And the more I researched, I found that, hey, this is actually in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 2. And when under George Washington back in 1790, when the very first census took place, there was only about 6 or 7 questions. And as time evolved, it went to like 200 some questions to now, roughly, it's only about 10 to 12 questions. Right. We're talking about this a quick while you're eating your veggie shake in the morning, get on the telephone or fill it out, mail it in. It's quick, it's simple, it's easy. Doesn't take a lot of commitment, but it's definitely about getting involved. And this is how. So if I'm sitting around saying that the city of Monroe cannot, or they've been hindered, or there are barriers to this, I have to ask myself, personal accountability. Did I take the census? And if I did take the census, I'm part of the problem. So today, now I've been hearing, I know, Michaela, you're talking about the money, from bigger cities to our size of a city, the census can actually equate to about $1,000 to $2,000 per person over the next 10 years. Is that about accurate?
Yeah.
So what does a city do with this money?
Well, we do a variety of things. Infrastructure. I hate to go to roads but we know after the flood, especially, we know how important it is to have pump stations, to have the ability to protect property. So that's one. But we also get funds for housing. We get funds to help people. Right now, we're putting out a program to help people who've been affected by COVID with our federal dollars to help them with rent. So we don't have homelessness. We use some of our funds to help seniors from Meals on Wheels. Believe it or not, we spend some of our federal funds supporting a program like that. Pre-COVID, we would have spent money on youth program in the summer. We do those things. We have the ability to do, everything from helping seniors to helping children, because we get federal funds from a variety of agencies. that benefit our community and benefit residents directly.
Man, that's pretty powerful. We're talking about we can leave a legacy just by getting involved. 10 minutes of any specific day, morning, noon, or night. We can, as long as we get involved, and then at that point, look like the video's kicking in and out, but it's no problem. We're gonna move forward. But as long as the people, the community gets involved, we can actually make a difference. So if we're complaining about roads, we're complaining about something dealing with the public hospitals, or what about like first responders, police, firefighters? Funding is allocated for those also, correct?
Correct. The fire department, just like police, can apply for certain grants. Well, those grants are also divided based on population. So I'll use a recent example. Since the pandemic, the Department of Justice has looked out there and given funds to communities that have 50,000 or more. So we didn't have to compete for those funds. And they gave us funds to not just deal with firefighters or EMTs, but all frontline workers. So we'll be using those funds, for example, to ensure our guys that work in sanitation, who are picking up trash, have protective equipment, because we all know how important that is. So yes, it hits us all. And without having those numbers, we would be at a disadvantage. We would definitely be at a disadvantage. So, I can't say it enough, how everybody counts. Whether you just had that baby and brought them home, we need to count them. Or, making sure that your grandparents who live down the street from you get help so they can complete their census. And it's simple enough now that you could just call in. If for some reason you are visually impaired, and so, completing it on the computer is a problem, you can call in. I'll be happy to give the number. Although Michaela probably knows it by heart, but I have to read it to be
I
sure.
do know it by heart. It's 1-800-330-2020. You just call in and do the census, and it only takes about 10 minutes, like Nicole said. And just to speak to what you were saying, Mr. Johnson, about how the census has changed over time and the type of questions that they ask, just to speak a little bit to our immigrant community, I know that there's a fear out there of deportation and ICE and releasing your information and maybe having someone knock at your door. With this census, there's no immigration status, no citizenship status question on the census. So it's very important that we get every part of our community involved. And just in light of Pride Month, our LGBTQ community, there are questions on there about same-sex married partner, same-sex unmarried partner. So this census has been very progressive in making sure that everyone is captured without fear of any type of persecution. So I think that's very important.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Michaela, you're pretty sharp, Michaela. Good job, Ms. Hill. But if I'm hearing you correctly, Michaela, it's not about a person being registered to vote. It's not about citizenship. It's just about a body that's actually here in the town effective April the 1st. If they were here in the household, let's count them.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that. I like that.
I'll just add, for example, due to COVID, a lot of us, our children came home, right? I had my grown son that was away, who, thanks to COVID, he had to come back home because he was living overseas. And so, because he was home on April 1st, we certainly counted him. That's important for our community. So I urge those parents that might have had a child leave or someone who might have been even incarcerated and came back home. We need to make sure they get counted as well, because there needs to be services for them.
Absolutely.
Right? Those folks also need to have services. So, and we all use the roads. Let's think about it. We use the roads, we use the post office, all of those services that the federal government doles out. They use census numbers as the first step of figuring out where that money would go. So if you drive, if you walk, if you go to a park, you are using a resource that came to us more than likely because of census numbers that said, in our community, we have this many people, you need this many parts. So know that every time you look around, there's some other decision being made to service us that's using the census information.
Hey, I like that. I like that. So we got to get involved. And now that I see, I definitely know Mrs. Hill, her being at the city council, attending different meetings. Michaela, if I remember, the both of you was in a video with the city dealing with the census. You all were breaking it down in front of the Civic Center. Did you all practice that?
Yeah, practice. No, I just want to let you know that all of the city employees just have their rhythm. You can just have them dance on the spot and they just cut a rug all the way. But, working with Ms. Hill, creating the concept for that video, it was very important to me, being an intern in this office. And it was important that we capture our college community because they need to be counted as well. And like Ms. Hill said, her son was living away and then he moved home. If your child, your son, your daughter is living on campus, they'll be counted on campus. But if they're living at home with you, they need to be counted. And college students are one of our undercounted populations. So with that video, I just tried to, gear it towards them, just making them, just having them see themselves. And the census isn't something that your parents do or your grandparents do. If you have your own apartment, you do it too.
Correct.
So this is based on households.
Correct.
All right. Well, you've heard it. Hey, I'm Brian, and we're talking about with the city of Monroe about the census. Basically, what they're asking is to get involved so we can leave a legacy. Because the benefits that we're receiving today, that actually took place 10 years ago. So thank the people who actually got involved then. So now, if a person said they can't, they don't know what to do, you could do something. Get counted. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Ms. Hill give you the last word. And Michaela, you got anything to add before Ms. Hill closes out?
I just want to say, get the count, y'all. That's all I got.
Get the count. I'll use that. Okay. Go ahead, Mrs. Hill. Close us out, please.
Thank you so much, Brian. We love the opportunity to share with our fellow residents in our community that everyone counts. Todos. And that's everyone is Spanish. My Spanish is not that great anymore, but I want to make sure that everybody knows. So if you know of someone, ask them, hey, have you done your census? And if they haven't, you can have them go to my2020census.gov. Very simple. If not, they can always call, 1-844-330-2020. or 1-800-330-2020. Either way, you can do your census. 10 minutes and you're counting.
All right, get the count. You heard it. From planning and urban development. Hey, that's what we need. We plan it. It's directly from the urban development. So let's get it together. Thank you all, City of Monroe Planning, PUD, for a great time. We're going to get the count. Is that how it is, Michaela?
Get the count.
All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Get the count, get the count, get the count. Tell the Booker T posse, tell the
You can make sure Monroe counts by participating in the 2020 census. An accurate count of our city's population will help Monroe get its fair share of federal funding to support schools, fire and police, senior citizens, veterans, healthcare, road and drainage improvements, and much more. The census only occurs once every 10 years, so please participate and help Monroe get the count right.
Tell the robbers a place party, tell the robbers a place party, get the count, get the count, get the count. Tell the north side posse, tell the north side posse, get the